West region, the region of death. This thing is absolutely nasty. Kansas got a couple of grievances to file, to put it lightly. We will start off with those Kansas Jayhawks, the number 1 overall seed. Ease their way in. The number 16 seed from Howard is who they are facing. Jay, anything of note on the Howard side, or is this one pretty clearly going the way of Kansas?
I don't really see there being any way that Howard hangs in here, unless Elijah Hawkins scores like 40, and hits a bunch of threes. It's not going to happen. Kansas easily here, Mike. It's 21.5 point line.
Yeah, it's take 21.5 all day. Like, this is going to be a 40-point game.
It's going to be an absolute boat race, right, Mike? I mean,
I'm sorry. Don't take the 21.5. No, give me the Texas. Kansas going to win this game by 40. Like, it's going to be disgusting. Like,
you can have the points all you want.
Yeah,
this is going to be ugly.
I would take this game at -28, honestly. There's no reason to talk about this game. But you talked about this being the region of death. There's one thing to point out, though, is that actually is terrible for the the lower seeded teams. So because it's going to be chalk throughout most of this thing here.
It is, including the first game that we talked about. We have Kansas advancing by upwards of 40, at least 28, according to Mike. On to a game that have a bit more intrigue. The number 8 seed Arkansas Razorbacks. Number 9 is Illinois, the Fighting Illini. So with that, should be a little bit more to discuss here. Arkansas was obviously a team that was ranked fairly high to start the season. Mike, why don't you jump right back in here with this 8-9 matchup?
Yeah, I mean, these are two teams that can't shoot, but it's still going to be a good game. I like Arkansas here. I just think they have the best player on the floor, and Nick Smith, and he's a guy that you can ride through the tournament if he gets hot. They also have other dangerous guys in the backcourt. Devo Davis, he's part of that run they had last year. Anthony Black is a 6'7" point guard that can do a bunch of different things. Ricky Council is an athletic freak who's kind of star for them early in the year. And then there's Musselman, right? Like, this is one shining moment, Musselman. So, I like Arkansas here. I haven't been a fan of Illinois for most of the second half of the year. I thought after they beat Texas that this could be a team that could really make some things happen. Give me Arkansas here, Jay. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I do like the Musselman comment. I like the Nick Smith, the star power there that he brings for Arkansas. I'm actually going to go with the Illini here. No Kofi Cockburn, right? Like, went to the pro ranks last year, but that defense down low did not miss a beat. 7th in the nation in block rate, 16th in 2-point field goal defense, 32 in defensive efficiency, according to Ken Palm. I think they're going to clog it up a little bit. I think they're going to make it hard on these guards for Arkansas, and even the bigs. You've got the Mitchell brothers on that side that contribute a little bit. Mm-hmm. Illinois had their own transfer, Terrence Shannon coming in. Now he averages 17 points a game for them. The Baylor transfer, Matthew Mayer, has come in and has done almost 13 points a game, 5.5 boards, and a little over a block per game. Illinois doesn't shoot the ball well from deep, but I guess I could see, maybe worrying a little bit about that Illinois backcourt outside of Terrence Shannon. But I just think that, again, when you have two teams like this that just shoot so poorly, really you could flip a coin. And I know our upset confidence is 50% here. It really is. It truly is a coin flip. Vegas has this one 1.5 points. Arkansas is favored. But I'm actually going to go on the opposite side of that and take the Illini in this matchup.
Leaves me breaking the tie. Jay, the most salient point that I think you made there was the one towards the end about the Illini backcourt behind Terrence Shannon. Leaves a little bit to be desired. I also look at this Arkansas side. Nick Smith has been absolutely heating up for them and coming on. I feel like if he was there and playing at the level that he has been down the stretch run, they're probably coming in as higher than an 8 seed. So I'll use that as my tiebreaker. We will have the Razorbacks advance, and we will advance on to the 5-12 matchup in this region. That is featuring the 5th seed St. Mary's heading off, or rather facing off against VCU, the 12 seed. Mike, let's go back to you here to start. Any intrigue in this 5-12 matchup? Do you see this one going pretty favorably one way or the other, or do you think that it's going to be a pretty tight one?
No, I love this for VCU. Not a good matchup for St. Mary's. Upset confidence here for VCU. I have it at 40%. Ken Palm has St. Mary's -6, but I watched the WCC last couple of games there, and St. Mary's does not handle ball pressure well, and that's not a good thing when you play VCU. So, I think that VCU is going to make some things happen. Ace Baldwin, an excellent player that not a lot of people know about, so going to be fun to watch him play. You know, St. Mary's, obviously, they're 8th in defensive efficiency, but it's not like they scare anybody. Like when you go into the rim, they're only 288th in blocking shots. They're more tough on the ball. So VCU's hot right now. They're riding a 9-game winning streak. They're also top 20 in defensive efficiency. There's just a lot of things to like for VCU here. And mostly comes down to me for Ace Baldwin. And I just don't like the way that St. Mary's handles on-ball pressure. So, give me some VCU here. Jay, where are you at?
This is tough. I get that St. Mary's, they have some, Randy Bennett has them in the tournament again. This is a team that spends plenty of time in the tournament, and play Gonzaga tough down the stretch, but they like to slow it down and drag it in the mud. 359th in the nation in tempo for St. Mary's. VCU, on the other hand, with Brandon Johns transferring in from Michigan, giving them some outside presence. They only have a couple of players that shoot 40% from 3, which is obviously a pretty good number. You got Jaden Nunn and David Shriver there. The team on its own, or on the whole, shoots 34.7%. But VCU runs so many players out there. They have a large, pretty good sized rotation. Lots of guys averaging lots of minutes, and doesn't let you get comfortable as a team in terms of being able to just play one way in any particular game. I'm going to go with VCU here. This is tough. I've been going back and forth on this one a little bit. I'm going to pick VCU. I guess I'll just leave it at that, man.
Vegas likes VCU more than Ken Palm does.
Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, 4.5 on that line from Vegas for St. Mary's, 6 on Ken Palm. I don't even know.
St. Mary's
have those points. But,
yeah, St. Mary's is VCU is basically St. Mary's light, just with Ace Baldwin. So I like VCU, man. Like let's keep this train rolling on these 12 over 5s.
Let's do it.
We will we'll have VCU moving on here.
Josh
tends to agree. Yeah. He likes VCU to advance. So it will be
Josh sticking with us all show, man. I love it.
Man, riding it out into hour 3.
Riding it out. We're into hour 3 with Josh.
It's like an MCU movie over here.
Right. Hour 3, and we're just getting started. So bounce out the 5th seeded Gales. Great year for them, right? It was nice to see them to put a little bit more pressure on Gonzaga out of the WCC, but ultimately bounced out in the first round. We will move on to our 4-13 matchup, the rare back-to-back matchups featuring Gales, the 4-seeded UConn Huskies, the 13th-seeded Iona Gales. Mike, you want to kick us off here? I've talked a lot about my fear of UConn and as a team that can get hot. Do you think that a hot run starts here in this matchup?
Well, what a treat here! Getting all Ricky Pitino over here against UConn. So a dream coaching matchup with Danny Hurley. So it's going to come down to these big guys. Sonogo, a fine year, 17 points, 7 rebounds. Nelly Jr. Joseph on the other side, 15 points, almost 10 boards. But I like the way UConn can do different things, man. Like they can just play so many different styles. They have a deep bench that they can go to. Klingon is going to be a superstar soon. He's just kind of waiting in the wings. Jordan Hawkins is an excellent shooter. I don't know. The lines are a little bit. I thought it would be closer, but you're almost double digits here. 9.5 in Vegas, 9 on KenPom. So I think that more has to do with the depth of UConn and just the fact that they can play so many different styles. Jay, what are your thoughts?
Too much from UConn here. Started off, 14-0 this season, right? One of those teams that we looked at early on that sort of jumped out off the page of this. Went on a little bit of a slide after that, but now have won 9 out of their last 11 and are a very, very popular pick by a lot of the talking heads that you might see on the television, on the Teletubby to make a super deep run. I think it does start here with beating Iona, especially with, Pitino being linked to every single job under the sun. I told him that, or I said the other night that I thought he was linked to the Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator job or something like that too. That's got to be a distraction. I don't care how much you say that you're in the tournament and you're focused on the games. The fact that your coach is not going to be there next year, because he won't be, I think that is a little bit too much for Iona to overcome, even though, Nelly Jr. Joseph, which I love that. That's another one of those great names in this country, Nelly Jr. Joseph. They block a lot of shots. Iona does, but UConn way too deep, way too athletic, way too well coached. I think Dan Hurley is having them playing good basketball at the right time. I like UConn here.
Yeah, and they're also number 1 in offensive rebounding rate, and in the top 100 in three-point shooting. So that's a deadly combination.
Iona at 272nd in opponent offensive rebounding, right? So UConn, can clean up the glass a little bit, get those second chance points. They'll just be too much.
Yeah, Eric, what did you say the other day about about Pitino leaving them? These kids not really caring.
So I was on the other side of it, right? Like these are kids that were probably never going to have an opportunity to be coached by a coach of Pitino's caliber, and wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a lot of those players follow him over to St. Mary's or to St. John's or to Georgetown, right? So he is for hire. He's tied to every job. I do think that we see the Gales, continue to give a good effort, but I don't think that a good effort from the Gales is enough to really push UConn to the brink, right? This is a team that was, the number 1 overall team in the country for a period of time. Yep. They can absolutely get hot and contend with anybody. They do it out of the West. I mean, it'll be well deserved. They've got a rough path. Part of that rough path starts with the 6-11 matchup, the TCU Horned Frogs facing off against the winner of Nevada and Arizona State as our 11 seed. A little bit of ambiguity in terms of how this matchup will shake out in practice. So, Jay, I'll come to you first. I know you're a big fan of those Horned Frogs and Mike Miles Jr. Want to tell us a little bit about this TCU side?
Won't matter who they play in this one. Way too much Mike Miles. TCU did go on that slide, right, when he was out, and it showed why he is their leader, their guy up front, sort of leading the way on this TCU team. I don't like the draw that TCU got in this bracket overall. I don't think it – I've been really high on them, and I was pushing, when they were 35-1, to lay a little bit of cash on them on national title, and even it was like 16-1 to make the Final Four. I don't like the draw overall for TCU, but I do like them against either one of these teams that'll in this playing game tomorrow. Just way too much. Damian Ball, Emmanuel Miller, just not a lot of three-point shooting here for TCU, obviously, and we know that. We've paid a lot of attention to them this year in the Big 12, but the defense is there, Mike, and I don't think it's really going to make any difference who they play, ASU or Nevada, 2 teams that, honestly, I don't know that either one of them should be in this tournament. But I got TCU here, Mike. Who do you got?
Yeah, I just think there's too much athleticism on the TCU side. So let's just. I'm down to stick TCU in regardless of the matchup because they're going to out athlete either Arizona State or Nevada.
Real quick, Mike, is there one matchup that you think maybe gives them a little bit more trouble, or do you think they're just going to easily roll no matter who they're facing?
Well, Arizona can't shoot, so Arizona State can't shoot, and Nevada is going to struggle with their big men. So yeah, if I had to pick into my head, I guess Nevada. I would say because of Keenan Blackshear and Jared Lucas can shoot versus chucking up from DJ Horn and these guys from Arizona State.
Yeah, Arizona State had a wobbly case to make their way in. But either way, we like TCU to advance regardless of who they're facing. TCU in the second round will face the winner of the 3-seeded Gonzaga Bulldogs and the 14-seeded Grand Canyon University Antelopes. Mike, kick us off here. Mentioned Gonzaga had St. Mary's to push them a little bit more this year in the WCC. How do you think that they carry some of that momentum here into the big dance?
Yeah, I'm surprised Grand Canyon got there. They lost their top player to begin the year. So this is just too much Gonzaga. Timmy and Schroeder, it's just too much. So I don't think this is going to be a close game at all. So I got Gonzaga. Jay, you feeling the same way?
Yeah, I don't think there's really a need to spend too much time on this one. I think Gonzaga way too good, way too athletic, just way too good at basketball to lose to Grand Canyon. So let's put the Zags. Let's click those Zags and move on.
Man, I'm bullish on these Zags, right? I like that they had a little bit more competition in the WCC. I like that they're a little bit under the radar as a 3 seed, if that is such a thing. So definitely hope to be talking about these Zags more. Next game that we're going to talk about, heading to a 7-10 matchup. We've got Northwestern on the 7-line, team that was running roughshod over the Big Ten for a stretch of time. We've got Boise State, the Broncos, the pride of the Mountain West. Jay, let's jump back to you here. Looking at this 7-10 matchup, should be a fun one if nothing else. How do you like this one to shake out?
Boise State favored by a point here by KenPom. Northwestern is actually favored by 1.5 in Vegas. So this is one of those things where, yeah, exactly about this matchup here. Mountain West. I don't think – I know we've talked a lot about the Mountain West. I don't know that across the country the Mountain West has gotten enough love with just the quality of basketball, especially at the top of this conference that we saw all season long. Boise State, 27th in net rankings, 31st in KenPom, 9 quad 2 wins, 3 quad 1. This is an experienced team, 4 upperclassmen starting, best player – being Degenhardt, obviously, who increased his scoring by over 4 points a year here. But, again, this is going to be a defensive slugfest. The total on this one is 128.5. So, if you're looking for a game in the 80s, this ain't it. But I actually like Boise State in this matchup, despite going up against all-world, all-universe name Boo Buie. I actually like Boise State to come out of this. Battle-tested out of that Mountain West. Max Rice, Marcus Shaver, give me those Broncos. Mike, what say you?
Defensive slugfest, man. First to touch 55 in this one. It's going to be ugly. I'm probably just going to follow this one on the StatCast. I don't think I'm going to turn this one on. I will challenge you that Marcus Shaver is better than Degenhardt as the face of Boise State, but neither here nor there, right? Max Rice, and Degenhardt are going to be the key cogs for them to make any type of noise here. Kind of like Boise State, but Northwestern, man, they've obviously shown big-time potential this year. What a great job by Chris Collins. So I got Northwestern here.
Yeah, Mike, I'm right there with you, right? I mentioned it off the top. Northwestern got red hot down the stretch there, and we're just absolutely knocking doors down in the Big Ten. I like them to reach back and to channel some of that here in the first round of the Big Dance. Our last first-round matchup in the West, number 2 seeded UCLA Bruins, the number 15 seed UNC Asheville Bulldogs. Mike, let's go right back to you. You're talking about these Bruins all year. You think that they hold serve and advance pretty easily?
Man, this sucks again. Like, this goes up there with Drake and Oral Roberts. Like, the matchup, it sucks. Like, why can't UNC Asheville be a 14? Like, and play somebody outside of UCLA? Like, this sucks. Like, Drew Pember, this is the one game we're gonna get him in. Like, no, not fun. UCLA by a mile here. It's a fun story. UNC Asheville actually second in luck metric as well. But yeah, UCLA too much here.
Jay, similar line.
Too much power, too much firepower for the Bruins. Yeah, I know UNC Asheville averages 75 points a game. You get but that's.
They ain't touching 60.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't bet on them reaching that number against UCLA. So yeah, take the Bruins and move on.
We will do just that. Those UCLA Bruins moving on, in spite of some injury concerns down the stretch, should be able to outman the Bulldogs of UNC Asheville. That gets us through our first round. Before we move on to the second round, we've got Anthony G checking back in, reminding us those are his Zags. I think if memory serves, heading to that first round game, so you should be able to see that victory in person. The second round of the Western Regional here kicks off with 1-8 matchup: Kansas Jayhawks, Arkansas Razorbacks. Mike, let's go back to you to kick this one off. How do you like this 1-8 matchup to play out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's dangerous for Kansas for sure, but I think Jalen Wilson's just too much for Arkansas, and just a better coached team as far as like, assisted field goals made, like they just share the ball better. I just don't see them. I don't see them making it a game in the second half. I could see this being close in the first half, but I feel like Kansas and their adjustments, and it's just going to be too much and just a little bit overwhelming for Arkansas, who it struggles to put together a full game of quality shots. Jay, where are you at on this game?
Nobody's questioning Arkansas's effort on the defensive side of the ball, but offensively, I don't think they'll have enough to keep up with Kansas. So yeah, I'll go with the Jayhawks here.
Jay, real quick, you actually had Arkansas falling to Illinois in your brackets personally.
Right.
Do you think it's a different story for Kansas if they are facing off against the Illini?
No, I don't. I don't think it matters. I do know that Illinois it would be definitely a different kind of matchup for Kansas, but I don't think it really matters. Kansas is just Kansas, in spite of being the seed of this high, that's another 17 quad one wins for Kansas. It's not even close to in terms of being the most in the country. They beat good teams on a regular basis. Illinois is a good team. Arkansas is a good team. I just think Kansas has too much here, especially defensively, to be able to shut down either one of those sides. You're going to get the defense from Arkansas. This could be a game that I could see, depending on what that total set out, maybe tinkering with the under a little bit if it's low enough, because there's going to be some good defense in this one, and obviously the total will reflect that. But no, for me, either way, Illinois, Arkansas, doesn't matter. Kansas will advance.
17 quad one wins in a league where many teams don't even have 17 quad one games, right? So Kansas is going to carry forward. We got Kevin D checking back in, appreciating the in-depth analysis. We're going here game by game and really breaking down all of the aspects that go into our decisions. And Kevin is just firing off brackets left and right. So love that you're able to take this analysis and immediately put it into action. Josh is on the other end of the spectrum, trying something new, and he's going one bullet. He's going.
I'm with you, Josh.
Single bullet.
I'm with you, Josh.
Man, I'm close with the Kevin side of the argument. Right? Anytime I don't feel good about a matchup, or I don't feel good about clicking a button, I'm firing up a new bracket. Right? So we'll carry on the 4-12 matchup, UConn Huskies facing off against those 12-seeded VCU. Mike, let's head back here. You were pretty bullish on this VCU side, having them advance in that 5-12 matchup. How do you like them matching up against the 4-seeded Huskies?
Yeah, I don't like this matchup. UConn is so dangerous, like Jay talked about earlier. I mean, so dangerous out of this 4 seed, and I got them moving on here. And Kansas better watch out, because this is when it starts to get real dicey for them in this next round. But UConn can play any style. They have a ton of depth. Like, it's just going to overwhelm VCU. So I've got VCU. Jay, what are your thoughts?
We got VCU. Which one are we on? We're on VCU and UConn here.
Yep,
that's right.
You got VCU in this one?
No. I got UConn. Just too much firepower.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, it definitely way too much going on there for Connecticut. Not a great matchup for VCU.
Yeah.
I'll go UConn here as well. Just too much. Our guy Adama Sanogo is gonna handle his business. Gonna go UConn here.
We will sweep it with UConn advancing. That takes us to our 3-6 matchup. The Gonzaga Bulldogs, the TCU Horned Frogs. Jay, coming right back to you as our resident TCU expert. Obviously, you like them to make their way to the second round. How do you like their prospects here facing off against Gonzaga?
Anthony G, you see what I'm doing right now? I'm covering my ears because that's what I need you to do. I got TCU. I got TCU beating the Zags here. Now I get it. Now listen.
No way.
No, hold on. I get it. The Zags are playing great basketball. Mike Miles Jr., let's not underestimate the star power of Mike Miles Jr. I get it. Drew Timme. Yeah, he's great. 20 points, 7 boards. Yeah, Strother, 15 points a game. Shoot the lights out of the gym from long range. But I'm not making the case for the Zags here. I'm going to go with those TCU Horned Frogs. 20th in perimeter defense. Yeah, it hurts me a little bit that Lampkin is out. Obviously there were some issues there and well-publicized sort of a breakup from TCU. So I don't like that. I would have much rather TCU have Lampkin down low against these Zags. But I'm going to take the guard play for TCU, Mike Miles Jr., Damian Val, and I'm just going to go with TCU here and ride it out with my Horned Frogs because I do think they deserve to have a Sweet 16 berth with as well as they played all year long. Mike, tell me why I'm wrong.
You're wrong, but I don't think you're that far off because Gonzaga's not great defensively. Like they didn't go through the Big 12 grind. They can be had. TCU with a lot of depth, but I don't know. Drew Timme, he feels like he's just a lock for the Sweet 16. Mark Few, until I see something different, I'm just gonna advance Gonzaga to every Sweet 16 until Mark Few's no longer the coach. But no, mostly I think it's gonna be a close game. Honestly, I'm gonna be interested to see if this matchup happens. If what the line is whatever TCU. I'd probably take the points with TCU in this game.
Yeah, this one is kind of tricky, right? I am a fan of what TCU is and has done. I think the tiebreaker that I'll go to here is that little bit of turmoil, right? There's some hurt feelings around some things that are going on with coaching staff. We've got players entering the portal. That doesn't sound like a ton on its face, but I think it's enough to be a difference maker in a very tough matchup against Gonzaga. So I'll break the tie. I'll have the Bulldogs carry forward. They will face the winner of our 2-7 matchup. UCLA Bruins coming in a little bit hobbled. Northwestern Wildcats have played hot, but not quite as hot entering into this tournament. Mike, let's go right back to you. How do you like this one to shake out?
UCLA, just overwhelming. The difference with Northwestern and Boise is that UCLA is far more superior with star power on the offensive end. So yeah, I just see UCLA here. Jay, yeah, you following a similar path here? I know we're both pretty bullish on UCLA despite the Jalen Clark injury.
Yeah, I just you can go with the Bruins here. Don't overthink it at this point in your bracket. It's UCLA, and honestly, I don't really think this is a close one.
Yeah.
I think it's UCLA by a bunch.
I will tend to agree. So UCLA will take the final Sweet 16 spot here in the Western region. Before we move on to break down the Elite Eight, Kevin, jumping back into the chat, wants to know on the upset tip, what is the highest seed number or team that you could see winning it all this year? Mike, what are your thoughts on a longer shot to make a deep run and ultimately cut down the nets?
Well, you're talking seed wise, I'd say Duke and Creighton are the two that I would. I've been on national radio talking about Creighton being a winner of this tournament. So yeah, I got to go with Creighton, and yeah, Duke. I mean, Duke is not a 5 seed. The way that they're, if you take the last 20 games, like Duke's not a 5 seed, so they're just labeled that for right now. Jay, any thoughts on these? Maybe 4s or 5s or 6s or. Yeah. What is it in the last, what did we look up, guys, the other day? And since 1985, only 3 teams seeded 5th or higher have won the championship. So long shot odds here, but who you got, Jay?
Yeah, I think we'd be foolish to not talk about TCU being able to make a run here. Like I said, the way that this bracket is set up for them, yeah. I do have them beating Gonzaga, and to give a little bit of a peek into our next round picks, I don't have them beating UCLA, but honestly, that TCU team is even without Lampkin is still a team that nobody wanted to see on that line across from them. And if TCU is playing the biggest and best brand of TCU basketball that they played throughout the season, don't sleep on the Horned Frogs, surprising a lot of people in the Western region and making a deep run in this thing. But I like Mike's pick of Duke a little bit more as a 5 seed. And Creighton again as that 6, that is just, even though, I didn't have Creighton even getting out of the first round, I totally understand that thought process, the star power that they have. I could understand that completely. So I guess I'll say, to be different from Mike, I'm going to stick with TCU in terms of being that seed that's, a little bit higher that can make a run, just because I like the brand of basketball that they play so much.
Well, you think about Rothstein. I mean, I think Rothstein had TCU in his top 12 to start the year, so it's not like, Creighton too. I think they were top 5. So it's not like it's the roster, right? It's just more of how the season's unfolded, and how maybe the fit for both of those teams might not be as good, even though TCU returned all 5 starters together, right? But there's some other pieces now. Shahada Wells, Jacoby Cole's now at the 5. Excuse me. So just a little bit of a different team there for TCU.
Yeah, it's not the roster. I mean, it's the path, right? We talked a little bit about with Miami, another 5 seed that we like a lot to potentially make a very deep run. Certainly a contender, but they have to go through Houston. TCU is a member of the region of death, right? So sometimes it's about the cards that you're dealt. We'll switch from basketball advice to life advice. Our guy Josh checking in the chat. Find somebody who loves you as much as Jay loves TCU, right?
Yes.
You need that wind in your sail.
Believe and believe, buddy.
And Jay is going to believe his way to TCU making a deep run. If they are, starts here in the Sweet 16 for the West region. The first game that we'll kick off with is the Kansas Jayhawks. UConn Huskies there as the 4 seed. Jay, let's go right back to you. 1-4 matchup here in the Sweet 16. Pretty chalky. How do you like this one to shake out?
It's strength versus strength, right? Defense 7th in efficiency for Kansas via Ken Palm. Offensive efficiency for Connecticut is 7th. Defensive efficiency for Connecticut is 18th. So this is going to be a battle. This is one to pay attention to. This is appointment viewing. If we get Kansas and UConn at this point, sit down and enjoy some good basketball, coached by 2 really, really good coaches. I am going to pick UConn here. I think UConn, I am on that bandwagon. I am on the hype train. I do think that Connecticut whatever, gets one out over Kansas here. Just way too much from Sonogo. But even if it's somebody like Klingen, the 7'2" freshman, average 7 and almost 6, trying to get in those second chance opportunities, Kansas is outside the top 170 in offensive and defensive rebounding rates.
Yep.
So this is an opportunity for Connecticut to get some second chances. And, Connecticut, maybe it's not Sonogo. Maybe it's Jordan Hawkins, who shoots so well from 3. So I'm going to go Connecticut here. Mike, it might not be a super popular pick. Although, like I said earlier, there were a lot of those talking heads that we see on television that think UConn makes a deep run. I do like them to win this matchup against Kansas. Where do you fall in this one? Because, Kansas is just like –
this is tough for Kansas.
They're a really, really, really good team.
It's in the bracket. It's UConn who matches up perfectly with Kansas because they can destroy the glass, and Kansas is trying to get away with all year playing KJ Adams at the 5, and he's not a 5-man like we saw what Trey Mitchell did last year to KJ and those guys. McCormick went out with foul trouble. KJ makes you way more athletic, but he's not a threat. He's not a he's not a 3-ball shooter. This sucks for Kansas, man. How do you win 17 quad 1 and win the Big 12, the strongest conference, and you get dunked on by UCLA, Gonzaga, UConn, TCU is your 6. No explanation. Northwestern, come on, man. What are we doing? So St. Mary's isn't bad either. What was the other day? The top 4 seeds in this bracket are in the top 8 of KenPom. Craziness, man. Absolute
Murderers
craziness.
row.
Yeah, dude. So this is where it gets tough. Kansas literally has to go through UConn and then potentially the winner of UCLA Gonzaga. It does not seem fair. So I got Kansas in this one. I think Grady Dick's going to be an X factor. I love Jalen Wilson. I trust Bill Self as long as he's on the sideline here, which he should be. But you're right, Jay. This is a bad matchup in terms of someone that's able to shoot the 3 to go along with Kansas, and someone that's just so tough on the glass that, some of these guards have to get in there and get some rebounds to help Kansas out in this matchup. I want to see the line on this game. Give me any kind of points you want for UConn, but in the end, I just trust Kansas more to make it happen because we've seen UConn have some ups and downs this year, surprisingly, after the 14-0 start. So, I'll take Kansas here, but man, this is where it gets tough in this region. This is a crazy, crazy region.
Man, this is the definition of a coin flip. Both these teams are super deep. They're super versatile. I'll give the coaching matchup to give the edge in the coaching matchup to Bill Self. And also, the thing that's really going to push me towards the Kansas side here is just consistency, right? We talk about 17 quad 1 wins. You don't do that if you're not playing consistently. And UConn has been a bit streakier and are, at least when they're hot, very reliant on the 3-ball from Jackson, right? And those makes can come in streaks, but they can also go a little bit cold. So I think this one is really anybody's game. But if I have to find a differentiator, it's going to be the consistency on the Kansas side coming in as the 1 seed. Before we move into the other matchup here on this side of the bracket, we got our guy Jody checking back in, letting us know that he is ready to hunker down in his man cave till Monday and get some college basketball in. So appreciate you swinging through, Jody.
What's up, Jody? Thanks for checking in.
Any questions there in the comments? Bottom half of this bracket, equally as difficult of a call to make here as we have Gonzaga and UCLA facing off. Mike, let's go back to you to start this one. UCLA coming in a little bit hobbled. Gonzaga used to being a 1 seed in the tournament, coming in as a 3 seed. How do you see this one shaking out?
If Bonus healthy, then I like him to not, take take Timmy out, but to neutralize him a little bit. And I I love UCLA. Like if Jalen Clark was on this team, I'd pick them to win it all. I still got them here over Gonzaga. They're number one in defensive efficiency. Overtaking Tennessee there at the last moment. So, yeah, they can get it done on both sides of the floor here. And Amari Bailey's really come on. Like, awesome to see him. Again, primary scorer there for them. Tiger Campbell looked excellent throughout the Pac-12 tournament. If he's going to score like that, then this is a super dangerous team. And I just like the way they profiled against the Gonzaga team. Jay, are you with me on that? Oh, we got you on the old mute ski.
Thank you. Hey, mute ski. I do have, in my personal bracket, I have TCU beating the Zags obviously here, but I like UCLA over either one of those squads. There's too much, let me ask you this, Mike, before we move on. UCLA losing Jalen Clark. Is that something for you that, I know that I don't think it's not affecting me in picking them and making this long run. Could that be something that could end up jumping up to bite them in terms of, especially defensively, as they get deeper in this tournament, right? Like, are they going to really miss him?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, they weren't very deep to begin with, which sucks, man. This starting five, like, when Bona and Bailey started to come on mid-season, like, holy crap. We didn't even mention Jaime Haka as much. Tiger Campbell and then Jalen Clark, like, man, that starting five was excellent. And then you sprinkle in, a little the other guys that you have, coming in at center there and Nwuba. And then Singleton's a great shooter, can provide some outside shooting that they so desperately needed. They lost Jules Bernard. If he had come back, like, this team was loaded. So, yeah, it sucks. And it kind of limits their ceiling for me. But when you're first in defensive efficiency and you still have Tiger Campbell and Hawkes and you still have Amari Bailey coming on and Bona playing well if he's healthy, like, yeah, I still like them to go a long way. I can't see them making it all the way.
Yeah, definitely going to be tough as they navigate those injuries. But ultimately, I do think we like to see UCLA carry on here to the Elite Eight. And here in the Western region, despite it being a rocky road, a rock fight to make their way here, we've got a 1-2 matchup in the Elite Eight. Kansas Jayhawks, UCLA Bruins. Jay, let's kick back to you here. Sounds like you've had sort of your doubts and questions about both of these teams. If this is in fact the matchup that we see playing out, which team do you like to rise victorious?
I do like UCLA in this matchup, in spite of what we were talking about a little bit ago. And Mike, to your point, and I'm glad you brought it up a second ago, we haven't talked about Jaime Hawkes Jr. hardly at all. We're 2 hours and 51 minutes into the show, and Jaime Hawkes Jr. has not gotten a ton of love from us. He is a star. This guy can carry a team through a tournament like this. I have them beating Kansas here. In this matchup here to advance to the Final Four. I just think that it's just, again, way too much. Yeah, Kansas is great. I had UConn beating Kansas anyway, obviously, right, getting into this round. I think UCLA takes care of whoever they meet in this matchup. Mike, are you feeling UCLA like me here? Go ahead.
I got them here and this might be it for me. Even then, I'm struggling to, I just think when you talk about the two stars, man, I still see Tiger Campbell on the roster and I still see Jaime Hawkes on the roster. And that is a dynamic duo that has played well all year long. So, yeah, I can get them through here against Kansas. When we start talking about our Final Four, yikes, that may be it there.
Yep. I mean, that pairing is going to push any team to the brink, including a team as talented as Kansas, right? So we've got UCLA pulling the slight upset, advancing out of the West, and just like that, our Final Four is set.